Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar, Leveraging Technology to Improve Project Communication. Today we'll be looking at some of the communication challenges that are familiar to all of us in the residential construction space, especially on the custom home and remodeling side. Communication challenges are universal across industries and businesses, but when it comes to custom project, our teams, clients, and subs often feel these challenges a little more keenly than some of those other environments. One missed mistake or email can really snowball and take over a project schedule or budget. So before we get started, there's just a couple housekeeping items I want to share. You're all muted right now, but you can use the chat feature to ask questions throughout. We will have a Q&A session at the end. If we don't get to your question during the webinar or at the end, we'll be sure to have someone follow up with you. You'll also receive a follow-up email with the slides and a copy of the recording. And at the very end of the webinar, there will be a feedback survey. We really appreciate your input and feedback, so please feel free to provide some additional information there. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our presenters today, Bob Cain and Mark Molthan.
Thanks, Jenna. Really appreciate it. I'm Bob Cain. I'm the business unit leader for Build Tools here at ECI Software Solutions. And personally, I've been in the industry for about 21 years through consulting services and building consulting teams around home building best practices, and really taking those best practices and driving them through software in a couple of different sectors. That's really what has gotten me here today at Build Tools. In addition to that, I'm actively involved with the National Association of Home Builders. I'm currently a certified graduate associate. I'm also a certified instructor through the University of Housing, so I'm able to help builders and remodelers learn about job cost accounting and some other courses offered by NAHB. So happy to be here today, really happy to be here today with a customer of ours, Mark Molthan, and I'll certainly let Mark introduce himself.
Hi, thanks, Bob. Mark Molthan. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Graduated from SMU and went to work for a volume home builder immediately out of college. The company was called Goodman Homes. We built about 1,000 homes a year, understood the processes and really cut my teeth on the efficiencies and job cost accounting and running larger units of houses. And then they sold to K. Hovnanian in 1999. And I resigned then and started my own business called Platinum Series, and we do high-end custom homes. We run about 25 homes at a time. Well, we close about 25 homes a year. Our volume is anywhere from 35 to 40 million a year. So we and everything is custom, and we're a cost-based builder, or cost plus, as some people say. And we've been part of Build Tools from version 1.0 and now 2.0, and I found a lot of success in the software. So.
Great. And you can't leave out, Mark, you building outside of Dallas. It looks like Platinum Homes was voted the Dallas best custom builder every year since 2005. That's quite an accomplishment for you and your team.
Yeah, thanks. We and it has a lot to do with communication, and it's setting expectations and communicating and keeps the customers happy, and that's what we really push.
Excellent. Great. So as we go through this presentation today, we're going to make it interactive, but we really wanted to start and set the tone a little bit today, talking about the industry as a whole, and then what we'll do is we'll get into to Mark's experience. So a little bit about the industry today. I think it's no surprise that COVID-19 has certainly impacted all of us. It's put a spotlight on the importance of communication, as Mark had mentioned, and really the importance of technology to keep your projects moving. And there's been so many builders across the industry that have adapted new processes and procedures through technology that really saved the business. They were able to adapt to those changes very quickly. And so what we want to do here is provide a little bit of education in this webinar to help everybody really think about technology in general, and think about not only can it get it through a crisis like what we're dealing with right now, but how can technology allow us to grow and prevent downturns during actual downturns. So when everybody else is having some trouble dealing with things, how can we have the technology in place to allow us to sail to success? So a lot of the technology already exists, and a lot of the builders and remodelers out there have just been a little slow to adopt it. So some of the next charts that we're going to look at here are going to talk about that technology and some other industries and how those industries have adapted to those technologies as well. So it's no surprise that construction in general is a little bit slower to adapt new technology than others. So we wanted to pull this chart up here by McKinsey Global Institute Industry. And really this focuses on digitizing your industry and digitizing your business. So as you look at the charts, green, that represents a high level of digitization. Red, that's bad. That means there's nothing really digital about it. And if you look at, it's really broken down between assets, usage, and labor. But if you look at some of these headings up here, these headings represent things like business process, digital spending, transactions. You know, those types of things are important to all businesses. And so if you look at some of the, it really goes from the highest utilization to the lowest. So all the way over there on the left, information communication technology and media, they're leading edge. And then if you go over to the second chart over here on the right and you look down at the bottom, all the way at the bottom that really has no digitalization at all is agriculture and hunting. Okay, slightly above that, you can see here where we've highlighted it for you, there's construction. There we are, okay? Somehow we've really been able to adapt to technology and help ourselves climb up a little bit to get ourselves through the current crisis that we're in, but that's not good enough. We have to keep working harder. If you look at this list right here, the areas in red are the areas where we need the most help as an industry. And if you look at business process, that's in red. So this webinar here is to kind of focus on some of those things. And we really just wanted to make it apparent and put it out there as to where the industry stands right now. Thinking back again towards and in with the current crisis of COVID, when it hit and the stay-at-home shelters were issued, then really what that did is it put a lot of geographical areas in a position where they couldn't build at all. So if you look at the map on the right, the area in yellow represents the area of the US, the areas of the US where construction was completely shut down. The areas that are in green were considered essential workers, and they were allowed to continue moving forward. So there was no real legal restriction on home building. However, there were certainly steps and procedures that had to take place in order to stay in business, which is what we're talking about when builders had to adapt with communication. Currently, there's no more areas in yellow, but everybody needs to be cautious and everybody needs to do a better job communicating through technology if we want to continue in what some are calling the new norm here of being able to do business moving forward with these types of crises that are happening and overall just improving communication for everything that we do.
Hey Bob, I can add to the communication side of that. Some of the things that we have noticed is obviously Zoom. I had no clue what Zoom was pre-COVID, or would I ever even think about doing Zoom. I would just go meet the people, right? And so Zoom has come into big a lot of our meeting aspects, but also FaceTime. My kids FaceTime, they adapted to technology and they all use FaceTime. We walk houses now with FaceTime and show, you know, that. And so technology is moving really fast in the construction industry because we have to adapt, and COVID's making us adapt. And so
that's great. That's great. That's excellent examples there, Mark, of using those technologies. I agree. We do get some feedback from builders that are doing those types of things. Excellent. So Jenna, do you want to jump in and take a poll now for the attendees?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bob. So we're going to have 3 polls today throughout the webinar because we really do want this to be interactive. We don't just want to present to you. So I'm going to launch the first poll here, and your input would be fantastic. Let's get it launched. You should see it up on your screen and be able to vote now. The first question, are you currently using an industry-specific solution to manage your business? And by industry-specific, we mean an ERP, or a project management system that's designed for builders. You know, smart sheets, Excel, Word, those are pretty generic. They're not industry specific. So we just gotta kind of want to get a sense of where you're at with your technology right now. I'll give you a few more seconds to vote here before I close it out.
While the poll's going there, Jen, I have a question for Mark. So Mark, you came from a completely different industry. Have you used industry specific software in the past?
We've tried a lot of them, and we tried the name brand ones that were accounting based. We tried the name brand ones that were schedule based. We tried to, we could never really get them implemented, and really it was getting a full buy off by the entire company. And because something was complicated about it, or there was something that it wouldn't do, or whatever the reason was, it just wasn't the right fit. So we had a really, really bad luck getting one to stick. And being the owner of the company, it's like you sort of get tired of swimming upstream and fighting everybody. Either fire them, or you got to get them to agree to it. And I couldn't find the right one to make it work for everybody. And we've had really good luck with Build Tools. Because it was written by a builder, so it was it wasn't written by a programmer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It seemed to stick for us. I mean, that's the way I would describe it, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
Not as in a commercial, but that's the truth.
Yeah, a lot to be said for industry specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we try to do stuff through Project, like Microsoft Project, and just so complicated. I mean, I didn't want to be a computer programmer, really.
Yeah.
I barely can keep up with what I got.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So here there's the results of that poll. So it looks like, there's a pretty even split between folks who are using kind of those generic tools I mentioned, people who might be using a mix of generic and industry specific, and then there's 20% who are using kind of all industry specific software, which is fantastic because, as we'll get into later in the webinar, these have the features and functionality you guys need to really grow your business. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation here. Sorry.
That's right. Was the poll hung up on you?
Yep. Just freezing my computer here. Let's see if I can't get my slides back.
Well, while Jen is doing that, the next statistic that we're going to talk about, which you'll see, here it is right on the screen here. So this is interesting. This came from UST and NAHB market study. I guess it was about 2 years ago. And what it showed from a vast number of people who were interviewed, a vast number of businesses that were interviewed, is that 43% of custom builders and remodelers out there don't use any software at all. So if you said that you don't use anything industry specific, just keep in mind 43% don't use any software at all. Custom builders and remodelers who never used what's called SaaS, that's software as a service, that's a cloud-based project management system, are there 63% of those. So 63% of the custom builders and remodelers out there never used a SaaS-based project management system. And builders and remodelers who have never used an integrated solution, there's about 77%. And these are all builders. These all custom builders and all remodelers, so 77%. So this really aligns real well with what we talked about in the beginning, where our industry is a bit of a laggard for adapting to technology like this. So if you feel like you're not fully integrated with a system like Mark's going to talk about, you're not alone. You can see these statistics here. So the next thing we want to talk about is why is communication so difficult, and why are these numbers so low? And so from your standpoint, Mark, what makes communication difficult? When you're in your business, if you don't have technology, what are some of the things that make communication difficult?
For me, it was the three things that cause the most stress is communicating to the customer when the project's going to be done, what's going to happen next, meaning what do we need from them next, and what's going to happen next, and what is this thing going to cost. And that's where this system fit in perfect for me. And it was communicating more to for me, it was more communicating to the client on the selection, tying back everything, and having that binder is what I refer to. In the old days, like the guys that I'm sure that 44%, everything was in a binder. It was all paper based. Everything you would get the information, you put it in a binder. I had a binder, my construction manager had a binder, the decorator had a binder, the customer had the binder. And you had to make sure that everybody's binders were synced up. And that was the hardest part, is making sure everybody was working off the right information. Does that make sense, Bob?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And that was the communication that I really, really had a hard time keeping up with, especially as I was growing and as I was doing it, making sure that distribution of information, even the plans were tough. I mean, version 1, and then it got changed, and the plumber would have one version, electrician would have another version. Communicating those plans and having that to be a source for the contractors to get the right set of plans, to get the right information to work off of it. So for me, it was having that digital binder, having the binder be digital. Everybody's working off the same information.
Yeah. And you know what, Mark, you mentioned cost plus as an area of focus for your business. For those who may not be familiar with cost plus, can you talk a little bit about what that is and how it worked without a system in place, and now maybe a little bit about how it works with a system?
Okay, so cost plus for us is it's open book. So we have everything priced from the contractor, and we share the pricing to the client. So if they want a tile and they go to our tile supplier and we get a 20% discount on tile, they get our price on the tile. We then charge a fee on top of every invoice that goes into that job. It's just easier for the selection process and easier for us to work out going forward. And we're in essence a steward of our clients' finances to move forward. So we charge 15% on all sticks and bricks in the house. And so for that, we put our budget in the software system, and as the bills come in, they see the bill, and then we charge a builder fee on every bill. Does that make sense, Bob? Or is that
Yep.
Versus a fixed priced, where in the previous life of the company that I worked for, everything was fixed priced, where they didn't see any of the cost. We priced everything out to them and put a margin on it, and then had them sign a change order, and then it was approved, and then it went forward, and it's a fixed cost base. So
Great. So let's talk a little bit then about so you're going to go through and you're an expert at finding exactly how much this is going to cost. The customer has a lot of trust in you. Then they go through all of the selections process, and then you are repeating and rinsing through that. Can you talk to us a little bit about changes? Maybe how you manage the customer making changes, whether that's increasing or decreasing, and how that process maybe worked in the past and now how it works with Build Tools?
So in the past, that 3 things that I was telling you about that really led me to Build Tools is, when's this thing gonna be done through the scheduling part of it? What's happening next, which is sort of with scheduling and also the budget section of it, and then controlling the budget. And previously we would do the selections, we'd go through and price it out, and the male would say, hey, look, I want to add this to my garage. I want to put all these cabinets in my garage. It's $3,500. That's great. We do a change order. He would sign the change order and would go in the binder. And then she would I want pink tile in my daughter's room, and that's marble, and it's going to be another $3,000 in there. And then he's like, I want to add a retaining wall to my backyard. Well, that's $3,500 you do there. And at the end, it was like that wave that they created, the creep, 500 here, 600 here, just creeped up, the scope creeped up. It wasn't that they didn't approve it and they didn't know, but when we got to the end, they were $75,000 more than they wanted to be. And I would get the conversation, and my negotiation then cost plus starts at the end. If I only knew I was there, I wouldn't have done this. If I only knew I was there. So it was, they knew they did it, they all signed it, but they didn't have the sum of them all together. And so I was negotiating at the end. If I was cost plus 13 or if cost plus 15, I was ending up at 13 to 12% because I was negotiating down on differences. And truly, the negotiation was to get my final payment. Since then, with Build Tools, everything's live. They see it. So when he makes a change order, she sees it. When she makes a change order, he sees it. And so everybody is working off the same budget, or the cost plus, the cost accounting budget that's shown there, and it's super open book. And so everybody knows where they stand for that price on a live by second deal. And if there's anything out there pending, so we put a pending change order or pending selection out there, that pending selection is saying out there, okay, you're sitting at, you're over budget, you're under budget X, and you've got these pending out there that's X. And everybody knows where they are. truly, by going to this system, my margin, I don't negotiate on the end. It's all there. Everybody knows where they're at. They're making good decisions, well-informed decisions on if they want to move forward or not. And so that conversation, or that uncomfortable conversation, even though we built a great house, everybody was extremely happy. At the end, I don't have to have that conversation, and it doesn't give that bad taste in anybody's mouth, where I'm mad at them or upset with them, or they're upset with me because they didn't know where they were. That's been the best thing Build Tools has offered me by far.
Great. Well, let's talk about some other communication failures that we've heard back from some builders in the industry right now, and it goes right in line with what you said, Mark. I mean, when departments are communicating in silos, when there is no closure to the feedback loop internally with our organizations, externally to our customers and to our trade partners, and then absolutely at the end, where if you have a lack of visibility on that number, and then at the end, who is accountable to that $75,000 that you spoke of?
Right.
So that lack of visibility. I mean, this is the feedback we've gotten. This is great information that you're giving us, Mark, and this is the feedback we've gotten from the top 3 from our customers that really align.
So the silos would be that old binder mentality, right? And so everybody had their own silo, and they'd put their own binder together, and that was, and the designer, if the designer was working with the client, was hired by the client, she had her own little silo, and so to keep her in line, she's not really motivated, and so she was always fighting against us. But now everything is in one location, and everybody is live on it, so there's no argument about who's got what, and it's just, it definitely cleans up those 3 things. It's funny that slide is that accurate.
Great. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's get some feedback from the audience here. We have a poll set up. Let's hear about some communication challenges. Jenna, you want to open the poll up?
Absolutely. So second question here, you guys should be seeing it on your screen, is what is your biggest communication challenge during a project? So you just heard Mark kind of talk about some of the things he struggled with before implementing Build Tools, but we want to hear from you guys on kind of what are your top pain points. I'll give you a few more seconds to vote, and then I'll share the results. It's hard to pick just one, though.
I would have a really hard time picking one on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have did a select all.
Yeah.
All that apply.
Okay, I'm going to close it in a couple seconds. So if you haven't voted, get your vote in and we'll share the results. Perfect. Okay. So it looks like the biggest pain point is really that having separate conversations, those different binders, those silos. And a close runner-up is, not being able to quickly communicate selection changes. Which, when you want to keep your clients happy, when you want to keep your subs and your vendors in the loop, that can be a huge challenge.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your feedback on that. So what we want to talk a little bit about now is where communication comes into this picture. So we've referenced Build Tools a few times. Mark is a Build Tools user. Obviously, it's transformed his company. So communication is something that it focuses on, but technology in general. So I mentioned industry specific in a question earlier because there are plenty of software products out there that companies use in different industries that are not industry specific. They've been able to adapt to multiple industries, and it's like anything else. If you don't have a level of focus on any one thing, you can never be the best in the world at it. At Build Tools, at ECI, we pick industries, and at Build Tools in particular, we have focused on custom home builders, remodelers, specialty trades, and really that is the primary focus, in some commercial. And we are looking to be the best in the world at it. So that means that you're not going to have generic generic fields and generic process that you have to invent. And like Mark says, become a programmer to try to make work for your business. You're taking years of best practices that started with the development, the idea, and the vision of a custom builder and remodeler, and has acquired hundreds of builders over that time period to take the best practices and put them into the industry specific product, so that you can standardize your processes, you can focus on your project budgets. And like Mark says, understanding the cost from the very beginning is the DNA of the product. So understanding where your costs are, knowing what your budget is, can help you make every other decision that you have moving forward. Everybody has to deal with change orders. They're not a bad word. Change orders are out there. You make more money with them. You just have to be able to stay on top of them, stay up to date at all times to manage the change orders through the process. And then keep up with the in-platform communication. With Build Tools, you don't need to have every single person in Build Tools. So some of the products out there right now, for example, may need to have the person who cleans your houses or who puts the sod down in the front always logging into the platform to see what's happening at all times. With Build Tools, that's great if they're in the platform, that's great if they're in the app, but they're also getting notifications right to their devices. They're getting notifications through text, through email, whatever their form of communication needs to be. They're getting the communications throughout the entire process. So there's in-platform communication, and then there's communications going out of platform to them as well. And the client communication really sums everything up. It's the end result of everything else that is working together in a system like this. So let's go to an area now where we want to talk a little bit about the avoiding the surprises, right? So that was one of the big things when we started talking, Mark, where you were looking to be able to avoid surprises in the job, right? So we figured we'd pop a couple questions out there and make it conversational. For those of you who are listening, if you'd like to chime in on any one of these, please feel free to send your comments into the chat. Jenna, jump in, interrupt us, and let us know if people would like to communicate with some comments in the chat. So really, to start things off, this question's for you, Mark. What are the problems that Build Tool solves for your business? You've mentioned some of them already, so don't feel like you have to go through everything in detail all over again. But if you could say, the highest priority, the number one, the thing that it really solved, if you want to just give us a little input on that.
Yeah, and I talked about it quite a bit. The
Mark, I think. Oh, there you go. You're back. Go ahead.
You there? Can you hear me now?
We have you now. Yep.
So I was saying that the controlling the cost and communicating the cost to the buyer, or communicating the fees and everything to the buyer, that has helped our margin as a business the best. There's never, the negotiations have slowed down with Build Tools. But on top of that, it's a 24-hour communicator to the customer as well, and it's a 24-hour source of information too. So if they're looking for something and they're wanting to know what the correct information is, it's out there 24 hours. So they're not sitting there at night at 10 o'clock, or when you're getting those weird emails in the middle of the night. I used to get them saying, where is this, or what was this that we picked, or what was this? It's there. I mean, and it's there, and it's got a digital signature with it showing that it was approved and moved forward. So it's a silent salesperson is a good way to say. It's like it's always working.
Yeah.
24 hours a day.
You know what? Why don't you talk a little bit about that too? So having your business organized and having a tool like this in place, has it helped you win more business when you're interviewed by clients?
Yeah, I would. It's part of my sales process, actually, and it's a differentiating factor. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of builders, but there's not there's some chucks in the truck type things. But what I do is I say, this is what makes us different, especially if someone's been through the process once before. I said, do you remember this? Oh yeah. Well, here's how we do it. Oh my God, that's amazing. Here's a picture of the faucet that's going in your master. It's not just a number, it's associated to an image. Here's this, here's that. It definitely is a part of my sales process, because it differentiates me from the experience they had before, because it's all digital. You can see it through an iPad. I can put it up on a presentation screen. It's all right there. And especially with when you were mentioning the COVID deal, I call them up, we get on Build Tools, and we can do a conversation and look at a lot of things through Build Tools. And Build Tools is the facilitating factor for our meetings right now. So it's been a game changer for us, really has. But I definitely is in the first or second meeting that I have with the client. I do a demonstration, show them how we differentiate ourselves.
Great.
And I use it to show how easy, that it's an open communication to ease the fact of the pains that they had in the previous experience.
Excellent. Good. Well, thanks for that feedback. So when you're putting the invoices in and you're watching the budget and you're using Build Tools, are you also connected to QuickBooks?
We are. We flow through, so everything flows through, and that being connected to QuickBooks helps more on the financial side of it to get the draws, to get paid faster. In the old days, we would have to scan in every invoice, email the invoices to the bank, and this is how we do it. Most of our stuff is either a one-time close or construction loan through the owner financing of it, so a mechanic's lien contract. So we don't go get a loan on the house. The buyer gets the loan, and then we have to get our approvals that way. So everything is open book, and so we send Build Tools, consolidates all the invoices, produces the financial statement, and we can send it to the bank that way. And we're getting approvals faster, and because it's all tied together, the accounting works, and so it's a little bit smoother and faster, and it takes less overhead for me to get a draw out. I'm able to get draws out faster.
Great. And then thinking about getting draws out faster, tying up some of the loose ends, eliminating surprises on change orders, knowing where you are on your cost, improving communication. Have you ever thought about putting an ROI on what you've seen from your business from using a product like Build Tools from when you did not?
From the starting point, and obviously Build Tools has grown and it's gotten better over the years. It's continually gotten better with feedback, but I can tell you what our gross margin, our gross profit was. Our bottom line number was running right around 8-9%, and now we're up to about 11%. And I attribute all of that to Build Tools, because we're collecting that final draw. For us was so hard to get, because that's where when we're getting finished, it was so hard to get to that number. Well, their expectation was already set. They knew where they were, and so I'm not my loss. I wasn't leaving money out there. And Build Tools was helping me to get change orders done too. I mean, it was accounting for the dollars I should be getting. So in the field, yeah, can we do that? And the construction manager, and we're not perfect by any means. I'm not saying that, but a lot of guys are on the PO system and they control it a little bit better. We're not. We don't use the PO part of it, and we would like to get to that. But in the field, our guys would approve a change. That change would get done, and then it would take 2 or 3 weeks to get it, and then it wouldn't get put in, and so we would end up negotiating on trying to capture that dollar. Now they got their iPad in the field, they could do that change order right then. It's approved, and we get that money. So capturing those small little $100 here, $200 there, $400 there, $500 there, capturing those on live time versus have to come in, put something down, get it sent out, get it to accounting. That's where it's made a big money maker for me. I'm not giving away a lot of that little stuff. And that little stuff adds up. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, it sure does. Excellent. So why don't we take a look at the selections and change order screenshot here for a second. So we focused a lot on being able to control selections. So we said in the beginning that Build Tools, the DNA, the foundation aspect of Build Tools is to be able to define a cost code structure, define a budget, know your cost in the beginning. We all have change orders, we all have changes, we all have selections that need to happen for every project that we work on throughout. So this is just a quick picture of how Build Tools will handle some selections. So you don't have to go through hours and days and weeks and months of building a selections library, because what most of us do is one-off scenarios the majority of the time anyway. So you can literally create selections on the fly, selection by selection, request by request, and put them into the system. And then if you would like to reuse that selection in the future, because it sounds like a pretty good idea, you can archive that and you can save it. If you don't have it on file and you'd like to go out and search for images of it, look for pricing of it, there's the ability to search and scale the internet to go find that, to be able to pull that in for your selections. And then you can organize those selections by location of the house or the actual category that you have set up. You can enable your clients to electronically sign off. So like when Mark says that, somebody comes in and they want to change that marble in the bathroom and upgrade something in the garage, and all these different things happen, you can get them to electronically sign off. And then they see a detailed list of everything that they've selected and when they approved it, when they signed off, and the price for it. You can
Hey, Bob, the best thing for us though, I would tell you, is that little image of what the selection is, because Susie Johnson doesn't care what the K509 is. She just wants to see the picture of it, and she wants to see that faucet, and she wants to see that it's in the polished brass finish. And then yeah, that's what I wanted. And what's the best thing about it is, in the old days, we would have it would say K509BN, which was a brushed nickel, and she thought it was brass something. I don't even know how she came up with the deal. And there wasn't an image, and so we would put it in, and then she's like, I never wanted brushed nickel. It was always meant to be brass. And then you're like, well, that's what she's like. No, I had that conversation with Susie on this date and all this, and so then I end up tearing out the brushed nickel. That image in the selection saves me more money, because if it's not the right image, so we always go back to, that's what you picked. That's the image right there. And it's just in those little things. But it may have been a $650 faucet or a $1,300 faucet, and you do 6 of those in the house, it gets expensive.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So that image right there, the picture of it, just having that capability of showing that helps me so much, because no one wants to go look at the actual number.
Yep. Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes, exactly.
And again, if you don't have the database lined up and they are looking for a faucet that you don't have on file, you can just search for it, right?
Yeah.
Go out there, search for it, find the image, pull it in, and go forward. Excellent. And then once you have all of that, like Mark mentioned, he's not driving his trades by POs, but if you are, you can easily create your POs and you can include all of that detail on your POs and hold those trades accountable for the cost that you have contracted with them as well.
The thing that we do, like the system's set up very builder oriented with the POs and all that. The system's also flexible enough to operate the way we operate. And that's one reason why it's been successful for us. I didn't have to change everybody's mentality to make it work, to make the system. We didn't have to fit the system. The system fit us. Is that a good way to say it? And that's why I was able to get buy off from I can get everybody to use it, because a lot of these guys, I've got employees that have been with me 20 years, and they're hard-headed and not very technically. I mean, not the technical. They can barely use an iPhone, and so the system fits us, and I don't have to change that old dog. And that's why I was able to. That's why this one's worked for us, to be honest with you.
Great points, Mark. Excellent. All right.
So I think if you're a builder and you don't have like a Joe Dirt working for you that is just he can use a ruler and he's the smartest guy that you know, but is intimidated by technology, then you haven't been a builder very long.
Yeah. No, great points. Keeping it intuitive, keeping it builder friendly, builder centric, easy to use, very important. All right. And then, we didn't want to spend the whole seminar showing you slides of the product, but certainly we wanted to pull a couple of things up that are important. Mark mentioned communication quite a bit. What you're looking at here is an example of a weekly report. This is a way to automatically keep your clients in the loop. They certainly have a portal they can log into, but this goes right to them. It goes out automatically, it goes right to them, and the report is polished and it's professional. There's hyperlinks that they can click on to see change orders that they can either review or approve. It includes the progress photos, and it really helps the communication touch point and eliminates a lot of the confusion that goes back and forth, sums up the job and where you're at right now, and improves some of that communication.
I will tell you again on that, the pictures are 1,000 words. We take weekly pictures and we post them, and it sends it out to the customer, and they may not like, they some of them read it and live by it, and they don't really, they know what the weather is, but they don't realize that it rained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Thursday, they're wondering why you haven't poured concrete. But the pictures, that right there is that makes it your life easier by posting pictures. They're not just wearing you out about everything. And we are really been, it's psychologically, when they see the pictures, they love it. They absolutely love it. So just that touch point to the client, it's a great feature.
And it's a big event for the client. They're spending a
Yeah.
lot of money. They're taking pride in this thing that they are doing from a very creative standpoint. They're probably looking for this to be a place that they want to invest and be in for a very long time, and have it be very unique to them. So to see it grow and evolve is a special thing for them, especially if we can do that weekly or regularly in a portal as well, right?
Yeah, and also I call it like bedside manner. You know, we get so locked in on how we handle it. Like, you go to a doctor and he's doing open heart surgery, and he just takes it matter of fact, you know, oh yeah, well, we're going to cut your chest open, we're going to do this, and the terrible bedside manner. Well, this is I tell my people, this is the largest purchase that this family has made. I mean, you don't make a bigger purchase in your life. You don't do as big as an investment as in your house. That is the largest single investment that you make. And so it's a very emotional, it's very important to them. And they want your bedside manner to be like, this is the only one we're working on. You're the only person you're the most important person to us. And the pictures help us with that. It makes it, I mean, we take some good pictures and we add in, and then we truly, the best part about it is we document before we sheetrock. We go through and do a big documentation pre-sheetrock, pre-foundation, you know, and so we have historic information that we can go back to if there's an issue or something that needs to come up, or we're looking for something. We use it quite a bit. But in the meantime, in between those two big documentation phases, it's touchy-feely, and they feel very important when you post those pictures.
Yeah, that's excellent. All right. So let's take another poll. Let's take our final poll. Jenna, you want to bring the audience back on for a final poll here?
Absolutely. So our last poll of the day, what is your top motivator for looking at a new piece of technology? Like, what really makes you kind of look at or demo a product? What are you hoping to gain from implementing a new tool? And this doesn't have to be industry specific. Anytime you invest in a new technology or bring it on board with your team, you can select all that apply on this one. So if there's more than one, you can go ahead and check those off. Give everyone a few more seconds to vote here. And if there's anything we missed, please feel free to let us know in the chat if it's not listed here on the screen. Okay, I'll close it now and share the results with you so you can see. So it looks like organization is a top priority, and that's to be expected in a custom building process. You got a lot of moving parts, and there's just a lot of things neck and neck there: finishing projects on time, increasing that profitability in your bottom line, and then easily communicating changes with everyone that needs to be aware. Awesome, thanks everyone.
All right, great. All right, so to sum things up, Mark let us know what his ROI is. And so better communication, happier clients, more business, eliminating those gray areas of uncertainty, certainly avoiding the surprises, building the trust with the homeowners, all very important things. You know, and just a little quick tip here. In addition to the ROI, one single change order, one single miss can pay for build tools for a year or more. And we've had multiple customers let us know that when asked about the ROI as well. All right, so we are at the top point here of our 45-minute webinar for today. We really enjoyed working with you, Mark, and really appreciate all of your feedback. And Mark touched on a couple of times during this, and I wanted to bring it up here as we get to close. Build Tools is a product that was designed by a builder who had a vision, a custom builder, somebody who has a custom building company and a remodeling company who has a vision of solving custom builder and remodeler and special trade problems. And this piece of technology does that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the value of construction project management, you can download our ebook. We'll send a copy of the slides and a recording and a link for you to download, just general education that you'll be able to see after we're done as well. And just to kind of conclude things here, we'll open it up for a Q&A. If anybody would like to send any questions into the chat, we're happy to hear them. As you get a copy of these slides and a recording here, you'll see that there are links on here that you can click on to go ahead and check out our website. You can also click on a link to schedule a demo if you'd like to see a demonstration of Build Tools as a product. So Jenna, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, so we got one here. I think it was when you were talking about kind of the in-platform communication. Someone has asked, you know, what if people aren't logging into Build Tools? Does that communication really flow as easily then if they're not kind of logging in to communicate and respond to messages?
Sure. You know, I mean, when you're in Build Tools, you can really see everything. But one of the powerful areas of the platform is that, you know, it's known that sometimes trade partners aren't logging in every minute of the day, and they're not seeing everything live. So you can certainly set the system up to go out there and communicate to those trade partners and those buyers and owners and send information to them even when they are not actually inside of the platform, which has been a very powerful feature in Build Tools.
Awesome. And then I think this is a question for Mark here. You mentioned that your team's not super tech savvy, but they've taken to it. You know, is there kind of a ramping up period or a learning period, or what was that process like?
For us, we took it in sections. I didn't turn the fire hose on and ram it down them, or just hose them down. We sort of turned on, and we started with the budget and change orders. Then we added the schedule. And then we added, you know, the emailing. Then we added all the other features that it has. It has so much capability. We implemented it in slowly, and we mastered each one before we did another one. And so then they got trust in the system. And as they got the trust in the system, they started wanting to implement stuff to me. It wasn't me dictating to them. So it ended up being organic for me than it was. I think if I just said, okay, here it all is, go for it, it would have never made it. But because we went slowly and used it and mastered each section, it worked great. My accounting department was begging for more of it, you know. And then the builders are like, hey, look, we need to make sure we get this on there because I'm looking for it. The question previously, though, the system, though, it's helped me be more efficient on my schedule, because I won't go forward until I get that signed. So the client, and the system sets up where if you don't sign it in a day, it emails you again, a reminder. Then it emails you again, click on to sign this, click on to sign this, click on to sign this. And so we've sort of got everybody trained that the system really forces the person to log on if they want to move their project along. So it's helped me that way a ton.
Awesome, thank you. So we don't have any more questions, but if anyone does think of anything after the webinar, you guys can email buildtoolsinfo@ecisolutions.com and ask any questions you may have. And with that, I'll pass it off to Bob to wrap up.
All right. Well, again, we really appreciate all of your feedback, Mark. It is certainly great to have another builder or remodeler type feedback to address problems that we all have. It was great to hear how you utilize the software to address those problems, and your 20+ years of expertise in doing this and becoming the builder that you are. It was certainly very valuable. So we really appreciate your time on this webinar. We certainly appreciate everybody who attended. We look forward to hearing more from you. If you have more questions, you can certainly feel free to email us, and we will send out a recording, and we will also send out a copy of the slides. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Jenna, for hosting and putting this together and giving us a nice professional layout with the slide deck here and everything that you do as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.